The European Commission has no interest to undermining the UK and no interest in strengthening London as the largest European financial sector. We want to strengthen and integrate the single market, not weaken it, and that won't change in the coming years.
Daunting though the challenges are in the EU, we in the City are as committed to Europe as we are to developing our relationship with markets in Asia and South America. And indeed, we are proud to be Europe's international financial centre and have a key role in delivering growth across the EU.
The biggest issue here, it's not so much the fact that the EU is changing, but that the UK is changing as well, and UK politics are making it more difficult to engage in the way we need to in Brussels if we are to remain as influential as we have been in the past.
Britain's influence in Europe has declined, is declining, and if we continue on our present course, will continue to decline, and that's a bad thing for the City.
You are already driving on the wrong side of the road here. Yeah? Well, it costs the car industry a lot of money to fix the steering wheel on the other side, but somehow everybody got used to it. But I think you cannot afford many more cases like this.
Regulating and supervising the financial system is not a sprint. It is a race that never really ends, as regulators and supervisors must remain vigilant. We can never afford to become complacent.
We must, of course, have the right rules and regulations in place. We must be able to say that we are well regulated, but they do need to be proportionate and they must not frustrate doing business. Red tape must not be allowed to shackle business competitiveness.
And we find American regulation diverging from European regulation, diverging from British regulation. And that is the most dangerous thing of all.
If you want good regulation, if you want better regulation from Brussels, you have to play the game. You have to be part of it. Join us and join the other Europeans, build allies, and be part of it. And if you just sit back and say, this is just, everything that comes from Brussels is bad, then you give up all chance to influence.
Europe is in decline, and unfortunately I don't think it's just an accident. I think it's the way the European regime is set up. We'll end up regulating a graveyard.
The first macroeconomic issue is our growth level, or rather the lack of it. The EU as a whole is due to grow by 1.6% this year.
We want to see the single market strengthen and deepen to create growth across the whole EU.
What is the size of the voice that we have in dealing with China and negotiating entry to the Chinese market and the US market? I wish we had more dynamic neighbours, but they're the neighbours we've got.
A risingly powerful China and a risingly powerful Brazil. The idea that we don't want to have Europe, that we want Europe to be 28 or 30 or 40 tiddly countries all doing their own thing with no coordination and no integration, that fills me with great fear that we will become irrelevant and become, relatively speaking, poor.
But I find that when you go to France or Italy, as I've done recently, and you talk about the impact of what we're doing in the global context on whether it makes the EU more competitive or less competitive, there's beginning to be pickup on that now. So I think that that's fertile ground on which we can build.
I think that the globalization, which was such a enormous recipe for making us all richer, is now in deep trouble. And we believe in free trade and democracy and free markets, we have to join our forces. And I think the City has a reputation as being a forerunner, a spearhead of this line of thinking. And you will find allies in Europe.
I thought it was an excellent debate. We had some very wide-ranging opinion there, and it was really good to hear both sides of the argument. But it actually also shows that really people are very pro-Europe. in terms of the financial markets and the importance of the EU.
Well done, World Traders, for organising this. The level of interest I thought was fantastic. Amazing to get Michel Barnier there. I mean, what a coup.
I very much enjoyed the debate tonight because I thought it was an open and fair one where the issues were presented quite fully, and it resembled somewhat the debate we have in my own country. Can you be a bit outside and still take part in some of the activities? Can you, for example, be part of the banking union without being in the euro? That kind of issue occupies us very much also.